going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Believe Fantasy Football Show. Fabs here with my guy Tass on the other side of the virtual glass. We're a little late this week. We had some scheduling snafus on Thursday, but we want to make sure we get in here on Friday and get you all of your starts and sits for what is going to be a wild week 9. Tass, what's going on, man? Big game for our pokes this week.
Big game for the boys. They're feeling some good energy, good vibes from the Texas Rangers winning the World Series. Good things are happening in the state of Texas, Fab, so I think that bodes well for the Cowboys. Maybe can we get like a decent Thursday night game as opposed to what we had to watch?
You know what the Thursday night game is next week? You know what it is next week?
I can't imagine it's great.
It's Bears-Panthers.
You know, that actually, there's some
more
good
revenge game.
Important implications in that game draft-wise for the NFL and the Bears.
Yeah. So the Thursday night game, we had actually some better performances than I thought. I know Derrick Henry was obviously going to be a good play because the Steelers defense is not great against the run, but Najee Harris and Jalen Warren both had good games. Both. And the Titans defense is good against the run. Deontay Johnson had a good game. George Pickens did not. And Will Levis did not, which I kind of predicted. You don't want to chase the points there with Will Levis after that big game against Atlanta. DeAndre Hopkins only had 10 points. Not great. Yeah, but at least it's not 3 like he had in that London game a few weeks ago. So whether or not you benefited or didn't from Thursday night, we've got a full slate of games minus 4 teams with the buys coming up. And I will say this. We have 3 great games this week. One of them's in Germany, which I kind of don't understand why we give another country Chiefs Dolphins. But whatever it is, what it is, that's 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 if you're on the West Coast, Tass. So you're going to have to wake up early.
Oh, boy.
We've got our beloveds against the Eagles. Huge game. Big implications in the NFC East and in the NFC. And then you've got Bills-Bengals, which, you know, we're all going to be thinking about DeMar Hamlin in that one. The Bengals are hot. The Bills are not. So we're going to have fun with that game too. Everything else, almost everything else, has got crappy starting quarterbacks against another crappy starting quarterback or crappy backups against crappy backups. It's gross. So let's get into that because the quarterback position is where people are going to need help this week. Raiders demoted Jimmy Garoppolo. Aiden O'Connell's going to start. Good. Change something because Devontae Adams is killing me. And it's not him. The guy's freaking open. These quarterbacks are awful. They obviously fired McDaniels, which that should have happened. He's just not head coach material. We've seen that time and time again. They will go to O'Connell, and hopefully that's going to be a good thing for their receivers. We'll find out. They've got the Giants this week. The Giants defense has been playing better. Side note, Antonio Pierce played who when he was in the NFL? He played for the Giants, and now he's the interim head coach for the Raiders. So that ought to be interesting. Atlanta demoted Desmond Ridder because the man fumbles like crazy. He's like the current version of Dave Craig. If you don't know who Dave Craig is, go look him up. Old school, a lot of fumbles. Taylor Heineke's going to start. I've been waiting for Atlanta to hit him with the Heineke for weeks, and they finally did it. I think this is a good thing for their offense. I don't like Desmond Ridder, not from a fantasy perspective and not from a real football perspective. The other injuries now that we're dealing with. Justin Fields still hurt. Deshaun Watson still hurt. Kyler Murray coming closer to playing, but I don't know if he's playing this week. Daniel Jones, he'll be back this week. Matt Stafford still hurt. And then, of course, Ryan Tannehill didn't play on Thursday night. So we could be seeing Clayton Tune, Brett Rippon, Tyson Bagent. I mean, I can keep going if you want. It's gross. The bottom half, the bottom third of the quarterbacks is awful, and the NFL's got a quarterback problem.
Jaron Hall.
Jaron Hall is, yes. Ugh. Jaron Hall against Taylor Heineke. Ooh, sign me up for that. I mean, even like Baker Mayfield against CJ Stroud is like, okay, that's not great either. So, I mean, it's just a crapshoot. And I literally mean crap shoot this week at quarterback. If you're in a multi-quarterback league, do not be afraid to not play a second quarterback in a flex position.
Is it?
Or as it were, super flex.
Obviously, I know you're going to get into your starts and sits. Is it crazy that I'm considering playing Bryce Young this week?
If your alternatives are not good, then no, it's not. The matchup's not bad. The Colts defense is not great. So
I have Howell against the Pats, who I don't really want to play.
Yeah, I know. So, and I'll talk about that too. So Sam Howell is my sit of the week at Sports Illustrated at quarterback, and he's also my QB 12. That's how bad it is, man. That's how bad it is.
I really don't want to play him. Yeah.
I have him ranked ahead of Bryce Young. I mean, that doesn't mean you got to play him, but this week is I can't remember a week this bad at quarterback. Where I've got a guy who I'm saying to sit,
who's
ranked as the
QB1.
lowest end QB1 in a 12-team league.
Brutal.
It's flipping brutal. By the way, do you hear my dog in the background?
No, not anymore. But I heard
he's
him
panting away, man. Kylo picked the Cowboys. I don't know if you guys probably know my dog if you follow me on social media. He picked the Cowboys this morning, so you can take the Cowboys plus the points. We'll see what happens. He probably is better at picking games than I am. Someone who's really good at picking player props, Jen Piacenti. Let's go through the player props real quick here before we get into the DFS bargains and fades for the week. She likes Alvin Kamara over 31.5 receiving yards and Kamara at over 4.5 catches this week. Alvin Kamara is my number one running back this week. Never thought I'd do that again. He's been that good. Jonathan Taylor, who I love this week, and I like Zach Moss too, over 64.5 rushing yards against Carolina. Great prop there. Love it. CeeDee Lamb of our beloveds, over 72.5 receiving yards. The Eagles are awful against wide receivers. Awful. Also, CeeDee over 5.5 catches.
I like it.
Sign me up. And then finally, she's got Mahomes over 2.5 touchdown passes. We'll see. I mean,
a little bounce back game.
Yeah. You would think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and Mahomes was bad last week. Like Tommy DeVito. That's got to be one of the most ridiculous stats in the history of fantasy football. Tommy DeVito, the son of a plumber from Jersey, a third-string quarterback for the Giants who I'd never heard of before, plays in a game where his leading receiver had 4 yards, Tass, 4. And he outscored Patrick Mahomes. That's crazy.
He had negative passing yards and he outscored Patrick Mahomes. How's that happen?
Mahomes turned it over and didn't have any touchdowns, and he was awful.
Look, we have no love for Giants fans out there. They were still in a position to win the game, which is the craziest part about it. And they blew it.
And now they got the Raiders. Go silver and black this week. Sorry, Giants fans. Just the way that I feel. I got a lot of friends who are Giants fans.
Interim head coaches always fare well from a betting standpoint against their
Jeff
opposition,
Saturday
in game one.
Jeff Saturday. Who did he play when he took over the Colts? Remember? It was the Raiders, and he beat them.
Yep.
So, yeah. I have Josh Jacobs shares. I have Devontae Adams shares. I want the Raiders to do well offensively. Couldn't care less if they win or lose. Well, this week I want them to win because they're playing the Giants. But, hey, my friend Amber Theo Harris, who I do a show on Westwood One every week, she works with the Raiders, and she said Aiden O'Connell can throw the deep ball, and he ain't afraid to unleash it. And what we saw last Monday night from Jimmy Garoppolo overthrowing Devontae Adams, throwing the ball out of bounds to Devontae Adams. Dude, give me anybody. It was awful. It was gross, dude. It was gross. Let's go to some DFS plays this week. At quarterback, I like our Dak at $6,500 against the Eagles. If you want to go cheap this week at quarterback, Derek Carr against the Bears at $5,700 on DK is a good price against a bad defense. And I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Mac Jones against the Commanders, $4,900. Commanders defense is awful.
And they just traded Montez Sweat and Chase Young, so they lost 2 of their best pass rushers.
And I know that the Patriots don't have pass catchers right now. They're all banged up. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on. Running backs this week: Kareem Hunt, $5,500 against the Cardinals. Darrell Henderson, $5,100 against Green Bay. They're not good against the run. And if Stafford can't play, and right now we don't know as we record, Brett Rippon will be the quarterback, which means the Rams are going to want to run, which is not good news for Cooper Kupp or Puka Nacua, by the way. Brandon Cooks of our beloveds, $4,400 against the Eagles, who can't stop wide receivers. And Cooks had 2 straight games with over 14 points. Finally, Demario Douglas, $4,000. It don't get cheaper than that. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver of the Patriots. I think he is. Devontae Parker's hurt. We know Kendrick Bourne's out. Juju's toast. I don't know. He seems to be kind of done.
He caught a touchdown last week, which was
I know,
fun.
but that was his only target.
Yeah.
So, Demario Douglas is a cheap option. I think he's getting talked about so much that he might end up being very popular this week in DFS. But
top of the waiver wire on wide receiver ads in most leagues. So if anyone gets him in DFS or they end up streaming him in fantasy in your league, when you're watching the game and they say Pop Douglas, that's the guy, by the way. He goes by Pop. He goes by Pop. Yeah. So
why does he go by Pop? He's a young man. Why do they call him Pop? Pop is an old man nickname.
I don't know.
Pop.
Well, it could be. I think it's POP. I don't think it's a PAP, like Pop, like Papa. I don't think it's like that. I think it's because he's got a lot of pop. Maybe.
I'll have to Google it. Tight ends that you can go with this week: bargains. Njoku. Keep tabs on his status though. He's a little banged up. $3,800 against Arizona. Speaking of Arizona, Trey McBride. We told you to play him last week. $3,700. And then Logan Thomas. He's not consistent, but he's cheap at $3,500. Fades. Quarterback is gross. You could fade everybody almost. Gino, $6,000 against Baltimore. No, thank you. Sam Howell against the Patriots, $5,800. Nope. Patriots are tough on quarterbacks, especially at home. Go look at what Jalen Hurts scored against them earlier this year. Tua had a bad game against them this year too. That was back in week 1. Daniel Jones at Raiders. Daniel Jones had 1 good game. Every other game's been single digits. And the Raiders defense is not garbage. It's not awful. Max Crosby can get after it. Jared Goff had a bad game at home. That never happens against, especially against a bad defense. Well, Raiders defense is not terrible. $5,600. This one hurts at running back. Tony Pollard, $6,800. The Eagles are just nasty against the run, guys. They are. And Pollard will only score a nice stat line this week if he has a lot of catches, because the yards on the ground are not going to be there. Aaron Jones, $6,200. Nope. Not until he does something. He's been brutal. And then Deontay Foreman's $5,700 in a committee against the Saints. Nope. Not going there. Wide receiver fades. Chris Godwin at Texans, $7,000. Too rich for me. Tyler Lockett against the Browns, who have not given it up to receivers, especially in Cleveland, $6,200. Nope. Jordan Addison. This one hurts. I love Jordan Addison. I've got him in a few leagues. I don't even know if I can play him this week. I don't know what this kid Jaron Hall is all about.
Yeah.
I know it's $6,000. That's a lot of money to spend on a guy who's got a quarterback who's never started a game in the NFL. Now, I mean, like, is it possible that he turns out and has a big Will Levis game? Probably not, but is it possible? Yeah. It's also possible that I can date Kim Kardashian, but it's very unlikely. Very unlikely.
Possible, but not probable is what they say, right?
So you're telling me there's a chance. You guys get what I mean. I can't play Addison at 6,000.
I got a little research for you real quick here. He goes by Pop because his grandpa passed away when he was 1 year old. He used to be called Papa, but then it just kind of turned into Pop.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll call him Pop. I'm going to call him Pop on my show today, and my co-host Lindsay Rhodes is going to be like, "What?"
No, I think it's Lindsay.
Is
Lindsay
it? I don't know. I never
Lindsay
heard Pop, but now I have.
She'll be a good barometer, but yeah.
That's
what Mac Jones calls him. So
all right. Well, as long as Mac Jones calls his number about 10 times this week in targets, you can call him what you want. Tight end fades. Cole Kmet was wrong about him last week. I still don't like him against the Saints. $3,900 with Bajan under center. Hunter Henry, the matchup's not actually bad, but Hunter Henry's faded out of the Patriots passing game. Now, Might he reemerge because they're all banged up? Yes. I'm still not going there for $3,600. And then Tyler Higbee's been a fade forever since probably the return of Cooper Kupp, $3,200. Not that expensive, not going there. All right, Toss. Let's get into the starts and sits now. This is what people want.
Oh yeah.
Like I want to tell you, first up, I've got some low-hanging fruit of starts at quarterback because I got to fill a number of quarterbacks to start, and it's garbage this week. It's garbage.
You were forced to do it. I understand.
I have no choice. I'm not going to tell you to start somebody I don't think you should start or who has a bad matchup. So Tua might be low-hanging fruit. Chiefs defense has actually been really good against quarterbacks. I mean, the total in this game opened at over 50. And you don't think Tyreek Hill wants to smoke his former team? So, Tua is a great play this week. I got Joe Burrow on here too because people, listen, he's had 2 good games this year, but he looks like he's back now. And the Bills' defense has actually been tough against quarterbacks. I don't care. I'm playing Joe Burrow. Again, I know it's low-hanging fruit. I'm guys, I got to give you Clayton Tune and Jaron Hall. And
I
can't.
I think the sentiment with Burrow is that at this point, you drafted him to be your starter at the beginning of the season. He is now your locked-in starter, in my opinion, for the rest of the season.
Yep. No question. And let's hope that calf is good to go for the rest of the year. Dak Prescott. The Eagles have been awful against quarterbacks. 19-plus points to the position 4 times. And they gave up 31 to Sam Howell last week. And they gave up 18 to Sam Howell earlier in the year at home.
I just got to say, I'm so glad that I selected. You gave me the option at the time when we made the trade
Dak,
in our league, and you were like Russ or Dak. And at the time, Russ was playing better.
Yep.
He had that stinker against the Chiefs, I think, that same week, and Dak has been to the moon since then. And I expect no less and no slowing down from the Cowboys because I think they need to put on a display to the rest of the league that they're for real. Yeah.
Yep. I think I'm undefeated in that league still.
Yeah.
I have too many leagues, man. I can't keep up. I think I'm undefeated.
You are. You got like a couple of cakewalk matchups where some people didn't set their lineups because I don't think they knew what sleeper was, but your team's good. Your team's a bit of a juggernaut.
I'm trying to go 72 Dolphins on the rest of you guys. Derek Carr against the Bears. Bears have allowed 18-plus points to 6 quarterbacks. 5 have had over 22. I'm playing Derek Carr in a few leagues this week for sure. I've got Jordan Love as a stardom this week, guys, but I don't know that I necessarily believe in him. I mean, the Rams have been getting smoked by quarterbacks lately. 3 quarterbacks have beaten them for over 27 points since week 4. So it's a good stardom matchup, but pick your poison at quarterback this week. You know, if you don't have anything better than Jordan Love, if you got Russ on a bye or Goff on a bye, whatever the case may be, it's tough sledding out there.
You're fading Aaron Jones in DFS, and I would say part of the reason why you're doing that is because Jordan Love has been so bad. I think it's a bit of a Devontae Adams situation there. Like the guy just doesn't complete passes, unfortunately. And I agree with you. I've had to entertain starting Love this week too, but
I have to play him. And I don't love it, but at least the matchup's good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for like 13, 14. And that won't kill me. Sit him quarterbacks. As I said during DFS, sit them all, but you can't. Sam Howell. Here's why I don't like Sam Howell. Their defense, New England, has been really tough at home against quarterbacks. Just one quarterback has beaten them for more than 15.7 points. And that includes Jalen Hurts, who had 12.5. They've held Tua down. It's not a good matchup for Sam Howell. Geno, no thank you. Cross the country in Baltimore. Nope, not going there. And Geno's not playing great football right now. Daniel Jones, first game back. Raiders, their defense ain't garbage. Nope, not going there. Gardner Minshew against the Panthers. They've held Kirk Cousins, CJ Stroud, Derek Carr to fewer than 13 points. So that they can hold down like a modest starting quarterback, which is what Minshew is. And Minshew's going to have to rush for a touchdown to have a good stat line this week. So Minshew's a fade for me.
So you don't expect, because the Colts have played 2 weeks straight, games that have been very high scoring, 35 plus points on both sides. You don't think it's going to be that direction for this game? You think the Panthers defense shows up and it's a low scoring affair?
I don't think the Panthers defense is terrible. They're big banged up. They're not terrible, and they're at home. So I don't think this is going to be a super high scoring game. Yeah.
Brian Burns he's a stud. He's really good. So he makes a lot happen.
Let's go to the running backs. And here I was able to go deeper. I like Rachaad White this week. He's had 2 big games in a row. He's catching the ball out of the backfield. He's getting targeted a ton. Houston's defense have allowed 8 running backs to beat them for over 11 points, including 3 with more than 17. So I like Rachaad White as an RB2. I told you I like Zach Moss. Taylor, obviously you're playing. Zach Moss is still playing enough, seeing enough snaps, getting enough touches to be viable in fantasy. And with 4 teams off in a matchup against Carolina, start him. Start him. Kareem Hunt against the Cardinals. Kareem Hunt has had 3 good games in a row now. The Cardinals have given up 13 points to 9 different running backs, including 4 who've gone over 21 and 1 who beat them for almost 50. Cardinals are not good against the run. Start Kareem Hunt. I've got Brian Robinson on the list. He's a flex starter this week. The Patriots have allowed 10 plus points to running backs 7 times. 3 have beaten them for more than 18. So you can score relatively well against New England's defense as a running back. And then finally, Darrell Henderson against the Packers. I know it's not sexy. I get it. Packers defense have allowed the 6th most points to running backs. And Darrell Henderson's a guy who may see more burn this week because if Stafford can't play or, he's limited, the Rams are going to have to run the ball.
How do you feel about Freeman?
Low-end flex starter for those in need. He's getting touches too. He scored a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Running backs to sit. Now, some of these guys you're going to have to play. I know I have to play them. I mean, life's tough, man. I feel like I say that every week, Tass. I don't really like these guys, but you probably have to play them. Aaron Jones, we talked about him. Aaron Jones has failed to score more than 8.7 points in each of his last 3 games, and he's had 1 good game all year. It was week 1. And he's still dealing with that damn hamstring. So if you can sit him or in DFS, don't play him. Alexander Mattison against Atlanta. Number 1, you've got a rookie quarterback with 0 experience as a starter for the Vikings. That's not going to be good for the ground game. The Vikings may want to run the ball. Doesn't mean they'll be able to. Because Atlanta can put an extra man in the box to stop the run if they feel like that's the way the Vikings are going to go. And I'm playing Hawkinson this week. Do I trust it? No. But at least maybe Hawkinson will be the safety valve, the security blanket. Everybody else is a risk, man. Everybody else in that offense is a risk. Losing Kirk Cousins was maybe the biggest loss in fantasy football this year. And that includes Nick Chubb going down. And that includes Cooper being out. And
Justin Jefferson.
Here's the thing. Will Justin Jefferson be Justin Jefferson with Joshua Dobbs throwing him the ball? I don't know. Kirk Cousins is a top 8 quarterback. Okay, top 10 at worst. He was playing really well. So you lose a top 10 quarterback and you lose the confidence in an elite wide receiver to put up elite numbers, a good wide receiver in Addison to put up good numbers, and an elite tight end in Hawkinson to put up elite numbers. That's why I feel like Kirk Cousins is the biggest loss in fantasy football so far this year. Jefferson's going to be back. Will he be back? I don't know.
I expect that when he gets back, he looks the closest to normal in comparison to what it looked like with Kirk Cousins. But if you don't have Cousins under center, you don't have as much of a threat in the pass game. Makes it a lot harder for Alexander Mattison, right? Jordan Addison, we have no idea. I'd expect, this is the first time that he's changing quarterbacks in the NFL. He's a rookie. Like, I'd expect it's not going to look as good as it has the past 3 weeks, and it's looked really good. Hawkinson, security blanket, you never know, but the upside's probably not as high. So I'm right there with you. I mean, this is a huge, devastating blow. I will say in this Minnesota Atlanta game, it'll be interesting to look and see how the running defense does for Atlanta because Grady Jarrett was put on the IR for the rest of the season. He's an interior defensive lineman. He does a lot up the middle. If they take a step back, that might be something to look out for going forward when you have running backs playing the Falcons.
Yep. Yeah. Good point. Good point there. So, the Vikings were a little worried about the Houston backfield's in a bit of a state of flux because Dameon Pierce is banged up. Now, if Pierce is unable to go this week, Devin Singletary becomes a flex, but I don't love the matchup against Tampa Bay. But he's a warm body and he'll get touches. I guess that's better than a cold body who's going to get touches. But yeah, you get my point. Deontay Foreman, back to being in the committee with Roshan. Don't love the matchup this week against the Saints. It was fun while it lasted for those 2 games. And then Miles Sanders, who, by the way, is now a player who has been dropped in some of my leagues. I warned you guys about him. Listen, I'm wrong about stuff. I wasn't wrong about Miles Sanders. I told you he's trash.
No,
he's not a good fantasy player. He's
broken record for you on that one.
I'm sure he's a wonderful human being. He's not a good fantasy player. And if you're starting Miles Sanders, maybe you want to take up a different hobby next year. I don't know. Because, I mean, the matchup's good, but Chuba Hubbard's the guy to start there.
Yeah, and if you're Frank Reich, you should be starting Chuba Hubbard. So
if you want to win games, which
maybe you don't.
They're not doing a lot of wide receivers. Garrett Wilson, a little bit of low-hanging fruit here, but 17 plus points in 2 straight games. Chargers this week. Great matchup. I like McLaurin this week, and I've been on McLaurin the last few weeks because he's had the Eagles twice and he owns them. But the Patriots defense is not great against wide receivers. They've allowed 10 plus points 11 times, including 5 receivers who've gone over 17 points. So I like McLaurin. I don't love Howell, but I like McLaurin. I think McLaurin can give you, 5 for 85, something like that, which is, 13 points. I'll take it all day long. Nico Collins, I like this week against the Buccaneers. Their defense has given up almost 190 yards per game to perimeter receivers. They've given up the 8th most points to wide receivers overall. I like Nico, even though he's coming off a stinker. Zay Flowers coming off a stinker as well. I'm still playing him against Seattle. They've given up the 9th most points to wide receivers and the 2nd most points to slot receivers. And Zay's seeing some routes out of the slot. I've got Demario Douglas on the list, Tass, because I'm trying, people need help.
Pop.
I don't know who else they're throwing to. I mean, unless they're going 12 all day long and they're throwing to Gesicki and Hunter Henry. It's a good matchup, though. Rashee Rice is playable. Certainly, Jacoby Myers against the Giants as well. The players to fade this week. I've got DJ Moore on the list. I know you probably got to play him. The Saints have given up the 3rd fewest points to perimeter receivers. And I liked Moore last week because he got targets in Bajan's first start, but last week was bad. And the Chargers defense is not good against receivers. And he didn't have a good game. So I'd beware DJ Moore. I already mentioned Addison. I'd beware Jordan Addison this week. I mean, don't get crazy. Don't start Elijah Moore over Jordan Addison, please. But come on. It's look at Addison's just such a risk. I got Tass yawning over there. He's exhausted from trying to think about whether or not he should start Addison or sit him.
You said Toon is starting for the card, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's bad. God. It's bad. Hollywood Brown, who has been, quietly pretty good.
Yeah.
He's giving you 12, 13, 14 points a game.
Oh my gosh.
Clayton Tune.
Garbage time touchdown last week for Hollywood Brown.
Man, we'll take it.
Killed Clayton me in 2 leagues.
No team in the league has given him fewer fantasy points to perimeter receivers at home than Cleveland. I can't play Hollywood. Christian Watson, where have you gone? Remember that guy who scored all those touchdowns in the second half of last year? I don't know where he is, but he ain't playing this year. Rams, 4 touchdowns allowed to receivers, 10 fewest points allowed to wide receivers. I'm not going with Christian Watson this week. I'm hoping for
reverse jinx.
Maybe. I mean, I do have to play him in a couple of leagues. I've got Josh Downs as a sit-em. Go ahead, Tass.
I was just going to say, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago where you said to sit Kyle Pitts, and I said, don't sit him. He's going to score a touchdown, and he scored a touchdown. I hold these for very rare occasions, but I'm doing the same for Christian Watson. Okay. You said you're playing him, which gives me even more faith in my prediction here. I think this is a game where he has not only one touchdown, but possibly multiple. You like Jordan Love as a potential start of the week at QB. I think this is one where Christian Watson finally gets it done. And I think a lot of people out there, if they're not listening to the pod, they might have him on the bench, and they should, because he's scoring a touchdown this week. It's my prediction.
All right. We'll have to wager an IPA on that one.
All right.
Finally, Josh Downs. Josh Downs has been good.
Really good.
The matchup this week is not great. Carolina's defense has given up the third fewest points to slot receivers and the fifth fewest points to receivers overall. With that being said, Josh Downs has been really good, and if you have to play him, fire him up. But the matchup's not great. Will he overcome the matchup? We'll find out. But it's not a great matchup on paper. Just keep that in mind. So say if you've got Josh Downs and I'll say Jacoby Myers, I'm going to play Jacoby Myers.
Or like Josh Downs, and you mentioned Marquise Brown. Are you going to play him?
In that case, I'd probably play Downs over Brown.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd probably play Downs over Brown. If I have Josh, if I have, Downs and I'm trying to think of Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
I'm going Amari Cooper.
If I've got ride the better quarterback there, right? Like that's
I don't. Is Deshaun Watson playing? They're both they both could be S quarterbacks this week.
I mean, honestly,
and by S's,
Walker might be a better option at QB right now than Deshaun Watson anyway. To be honest,
yeah, it's gross. Tight ends as we get down to the nitty gritty here. The tight end position also kind of gross. Dalton Kincaid's a must start now. I'm in a league where I traded away Dallas Goedert because I had Dalton Kincaid, and I have that much faith in him that he will be the guy the rest of the season. I traded him. I got Garrett Wilson back for Dallas Goedert. So I will take that all day long because I have Kincaid, Bengals second most tight end points allowed this year. Taysom Hill. And we've talked about him 3 straight games where he's been good. They use him as a pass catcher sparingly. Juwan Johnson came back last week, and I remember I said, if Johnson comes back, I don't love Taysom as much. I should have. He had a good game. They're running him under center RPOs. They're giving him opportunities to score as a running back. Hell, the Bears defense is not good, so I'd play him. Dalton Schultz, who I did like last week, and he had an absolute stink bomb. I'm still going to play him against Tampa this week. Njoku, if he's available, he's banged up. If he's going to go, I'm going to play him against the Cardinals as well. In that same game, Trey McBride.
Awesome last week.
Njoku's had 3 good games in the last 4 weeks. So we'll take him. Sit him. Higbee. Don't love him because the targets aren't there and Stafford could be out. I know you probably got to play Kyle Pitts. I get it. He's still splitting work to a degree with Jonnu Smith. Now, I will say this. If Drake London doesn't play this week, I like Kyle Pitts, and I will take him off of the sit-em list. Right now on a Friday, we don't have Atlanta's practice report. If Drake London is not going to play, start Kyle Pitts. But if Drake London plays, I like him less. Cole Kmet against the Saints. Not loving the matchup, even though Kmet had a big game last week, 10 catches. Saints defense, they've given up an average of fewer than 9 points per game to tight ends. And then I mentioned Hunter Henry. Even though the Patriots are down wide receivers, I still don't love him.
He might be droppable, in my opinion.
Yeah. But see, that's the problem. A lot of these guys that I got to talk about at tight end, because there's just not any good ones. Like, a lot of these guys are kind of like borderline.
Right. If you need an extra roster spot for anyone who's out there, and at the beginning of the season, first 6 weeks, you were like, Hunter Henry, viable option, a guy that I'm streaming or starting every week.
Yep.
I think the narrative has completely changed with this team. They have too many tight ends to catch passes out there, and they just are not a high-powered offense. So it's tough. You'd rather look elsewhere, in my opinion.
All right. I'm looking at the latest line over at DK Sportsbook. Our beloveds are a 3-point dog. The total's 47. What's your prediction? Cowboys, Eagles.
I think we're winning this football game.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I really, really believe in locale. When one team wins in one sport, it totally translates elsewhere. The Texas Longhorns are as good as they've been in a really long time. The Cowboys are good. The Rangers just won the World Series. The Mavericks are undefeated. Fabs, I'm telling you, there's some juju in the DFW right now, and it is
All right.
very, very good juju. It's not
I think
bad.
we're going to win too. I think it's
Tough game though. It's at the link. That's tough.
Yes, it is. Can we see this on the okay?
Yep. That's Kylo.
That's Kylo. Eagle. Go get a treat. Go get the treat. Which one you gonna get? I thought he was going to the Eagles first.
There he goes. So,
but he did eat the Cowboys
He
biscuit
kinda-
first.
He faked like he was going to the Eagles,
and then he went because he's a pig. He eats everything.
Yeah, he
went
ate both.
and ate the
Right.
Eagles one. My
He
dog,
picked the Cowboys, then he rubbed it in the Eagles' face by eating their food.
my
too.
dog is a trash compactor.
Yeah.
This dog will eat until he blows up. The Goldens are gluttons. I do like the Cowboys this week. I'm going to take the Cowboys plus the points. I will say this. If the Cowboys come out and suck like they did against the Niners, I will have lost all faith that we have any chance at being a Super Bowl contender.
Oh, for
Not
sure.
that I think we're one right now, because like, you know me, I'm really pessimistic. Everybody saw us get our ass kicked against the Niners. We've got to come back and prove to America that we can win. And the Eagles are a flawed team on defense. You could throw against them.
Yep.
You could throw against them. So let's get some good juju out there for our beloved Dallas Cowboys. Let's do it. All right. How about the Cowboys? And here we go.
Oh, he's putting the helmet on.
I
He's
got
ready
the
to
one
go.
helmet.
Get
Look
some
at that.
slaps on the helmets there.
It's beautiful. Look at how big I look, like Lucas from that 80s movie. Anyways, guys,
That's a good look.
I should do a whole show in this thing.
Fabs, I'm surprised you're not an NFL player with the way that thing looks
Yeah.
on you.
5'8", 168. Yeah.
Hey, long snapper? Who knows?
Short snapper. That's what Bob Harris would say. I don't. This thing doesn't stay down there very well. Anyways, all right.
You've dressed up twice this weekend now.
I know.
or
I
this
dressed
week
up as Adam Wainwright.
as Wayno,
So-
and now Dallas Cowboys player.
Anyways, let's go Cowboys. Everybody, make sure you're checking out Sports Illustrated for all your starts and sits, waiver wire. You've got it. We need it. Come on and see it. Jen Piacenti's player props. Like, we got everything there. A lot
Go
of nonsense
Cowboys.
with this knucklehead too.
Set your lineups. Don't forget
Get
the
your
London
Cowboys in the
game on
lineup
Sunday
this week.
morning. Yeah.
Let me
Brandon
see how
Cooks.
it is. Hold on. Omaha. Now, did you hear? Who was it that they were calling plays of like players? Like, it was like LeBron James. LeBron James. What does that
Yeah.
even mean? I don't know. Anyways,
It's a
enough
different.
foolishness,
It's
guys. Set your lineups, subscribe, like, do all that stuff. Tass is really excited. Like, he wants you guys to like and subscribe and
Like it.
listen.
like the show. What's not to like? It's Fabs wearing a helmet. Look at him.
Yeah, and I wear a
Hot
Cardinals
route.
uniform.
Send him a hot route. Come on.
St. Louis. That's right. All right, guys. Good luck this week. We will see you back here on Tuesday. And again, check out Sports Illustrated for all of your fantasy football needs. We are out. Let's go, Cowboys.